Today we will be talking more on multiculturalism and the social well-being and its impact on happiness. The acceptance and appreciation of the cultural diversity can considerably influence the individual's overall happiness and the life satisfaction. Hence, the multiculturalism and the subjective well-being are inextricably intertwined. Now, we will be talking on how multiculturalism and the subjective well-being are related. The first is your positive intergroup contact. Positive and meaningful encounters between the people from the diverse culture origins can actually heighten the feelings of trust, empathy, and the well-being. Reduced biasness and enhanced sentiments of the social inclusion and belonging are actually linked to a positive intergroup contact. The second is your cultural diversity and adaptation. Being exposed to many cultures can improve a person's capacity for the social adjustment and promote the cultural intelligence. The subjective well-being of those who are open and accepting of the cultural differences is often higher. The third is your physiological benefits. The multicultural experiences have been demonstrated in studies to promote a cognitive flexibility and emotional intelligence, which are associated to better levels of well-being and the life satisfaction. The next is your tolerance and collaboration. The multiculturalism, it encourages the tolerance and collaborations among the various culture groupings. This sense of peace and decreased conflict can have a favorable impact on people's mental and emotional well-being. Next is your inclusive policies and institutions. The multiculturalism, it entails implementing the inclusive policies and building the institutions that cater to the interest of the varied populations. Individual subjective well-being improves when they feel supported and represented in a society. While multiculturalism can have a very positive impact on subjective well-being and its successful implementation, it necessitates a constant effort to overcome the difficulties and foster an inclusive workplace. The cultural diversity can sometimes cause difficulties or misunderstandings, demanding the intentional communication and the cultural sensitivity to keep the relationship harmonious. So, the multiculturalism emphasis on the cultural acceptance, inclusion, and appreciation of a variety can contribute to the general subjective well-being for individuals. In a society, by cultivating a sense of belonging, pride in the cultural identity, and the overall life satisfaction. Now we talk about multiculturalism and social connections and building the support systems. The multiculturalism has a big impact on the social networks and the safety nets in a society. Multiculturalism encourages the variety, inclusivity, and a sense of belonging among the people from the different cultural origins when it is practiced well. The growth of more robust and the varied social support systems can actually result from this side. And there are some ways that multiculturalism can really help creating a support system. The first is your shared experience and the issues. Through the multiculturalism, people can connect with one another who have a similar multicultural experience and the issues. Now, talking with the individuals who can relate to their experiences in terms of discrimination, the language challenges, or the cultural, acculturalism can be a source of comfort and the support. The second is your community groups and events. In the multicultural communities, there are many community groups and occasions to honor the various cultural customs, rituals, and holidays. People come together at these events, fostering a sense of belonging and community. The community organizations can also offer assistance, resources, and support systems that are specifically suited to the requirements of the different cultural groups. The third is your language and communication. The multiculturalism can actually promote the study of languages and cross-cultural communication. Better communication is made possible by learning and understanding the several languages, which is very necessary for creating a solid social network and support systems. The next is your stereotypes and the prejudice. It can be challenged and the prejudice reduced by exposure to the various cultures. People develop a deeper awareness of the distinctiveness and the complexity of each culture via interaction with the people from diverse backgrounds, shattering the stereotypes and promoting a more inclusive society. The next is your supporting the new immigrants and minorities. The new immigrants and minority groups frequently have a network of the support in the multicultural communities. Established members of the community can actually provide direction, help, and resources to aid the newcomers in adjusting to their surroundings and overcoming obstacles. It's crucial to remember that creating the support networks in heterogeneous societies, it calls for a deliberate action on the part of individuals, groups, and decision makers. Promoting inclusive behavior and highlighting the importance of diversity can actually improve the interpersonal relationships and make society more cohesive and helpful. In addition, eliminating any systemic hindrances or discrimination that may exist is essential to guaranteeing that all cultural groups have equitable access to support the networks. The multicultural education and its role in promoting the happiness. The promotion of pleasure and the general well-being for both individuals and society at large depends heavily on multicultural education. The multicultural education is an educational approach that promotes the tolerance, respect for variety, and an appreciation of other cultural backgrounds within the learning environment. Now, there are some ways that multicultural education helps in fostering the happiness. The first is the cultural awareness. The multicultural education, it emphasizes the value of knowing and valuing many cultural viewpoints, histories, and accomplishments. It aims to raise the cultural awareness and enhance the cultural competencies among the students and instructors. The second is your fostering belonging and inclusion. The multicultural classrooms, it enables the kids from many cultural backgrounds to experience a sense of belonging. The students are more likely to establish a sense of belonging when they feel accepted for who they are, which has a beneficial impact on their happiness and the well-being. The next is your promoting empathy and compassion. The students gain empathy and compassion through learning about many cultures and other people's experiences. They are more able to understand the difficulties and triumphs of the people from other backgrounds, which fosters a sense of connectivity and concern for one another. The next is your developing the social skills. The students are encouraged to interact with the peers from the various ethnic backgrounds through the multicultural education. The students can develop the crucial social skills such effective communication, active listening, and dispute resolution, which support the happy social interactions through collaborative learning and respectable decisions. The next is your critical thinking and the social justice. the critical thinking and dialogue regarding the social justice issues such as racism, discrimination, and injustice. They are encouraged through multicultural education. Its goal is to equip the students to confront the prejudice and advocate for constructive social change. Next we have is a preparation for a varied workplaces. In an environment that is becoming more and more international, intercultural education gives the students the knowledge and the perspective they need to succeed in the varied workplaces. Higher job satisfaction and general professional happiness, it might result from feeling confident and capable in variety of contexts. In general, intercultural education goes beyond the classroom. It also helps the people becoming more empathetic, open-minded, and well-rounded people. The multicultural education promotes the acceptance, inclusiveness, and empathy, which makes the society a happier and more peaceful place. The multicultural practices for enhancing the happiness in communities. The multicultural practices have a big impact on happiness and community building among the different ethnic and actually the racial groupings of individuals. A more harmonious and richer society can result from embracing the cultural diversity and encouraging the tolerance. The following intercultural practices can really help increase the happiness in communities. The first is your cultural festivals and celebrations. Planning and taking part in the multicultural festivals and celebrations can actually give many populations a chance to participate and present their custom, music, dance, and cuisines. Now these gatherings, they foster a sense of harmony and joy among the locals by encouraging the understanding, respect, and appreciation for the diverse culture. The next is your intercultural discourse and education. By fostering the forums for open discussions and the instruction about many cultures, one can dispel the myths, lessen the prejudice, and foster the empathy. The workshops, seminars, and the cultural exchange initiatives can actually foster a greater understanding and a closer ties among community members by educating them about one another histories, beliefs, and the viewpoints. The next is your multicultural arts and performances. Supporting and promoting the artistic expressions from many cultures can be an effective approach to recognize the difference and generate a sense of unity. The multiculturally talented performances in theatre, music, and art exhibitions can actually boost the communal pride and satisfaction. The next is your multilingualism. Promoting the use of several languages within a society can actually help the people from the various culture origins feel accepted and valued. By accepting the language variation, people can connect with each other more successfully and overcome the cultural barriers. Next we talk about is a language exchange programs. Creating a language exchange programs where individuals of community can learn and practice the other languages promotes the cross-cultural communication. It also enriches their relationships, increases the happiness through meaningful connections. Next we talk about is the cultural exchange programs. Organizing the cultural exchange programs between towns or the regions, it allows the people to learn from one another, appreciate the variety, and celebrate their common humanity. A more cohesive and a peaceful community can be achieved by encouraging the debates and activities that advance the interfaith understanding, increased pleasure, and a social cohesiveness. It can also result from understanding and appreciating the other people's religious beliefs. Now, communities may create a more welcoming, understanding, and a joyful atmosphere where people from the different backgrounds can coexist by embracing these multicultural practices. Let us now talk on promoting the happiness in multiculturalism settings. Promoting happiness in multicultural context. It is a very important part of building inclusive and prosperous communities. Multicultural settings include people from many cultural background, ethnic, religious, and social origins, and guaranteeing their happiness and well-being necessitates a very careful thinking and action. Now, following are some of the methods for promoting the happiness in the diverse communities. The first is your cultural sensitivity and competence. Promoting the cultural sensitivity and competence among the community members and the leaders. Understanding and upholding the various cultural norms, values, and behaviors are necessary. For this, the misunderstandings can be avoided and respect for one another can be increased by being conscious of the cultural differences. The next is create an inclusive communal areas. Now, when you talk about creating the inclusive communal areas where people from the various backgrounds can co-generate, then congregate, mingle, and exchange experiences. Now, these places, which can be both real, like community centers, or the parks, or the virtual, like an online discussion boards, or the social media groups, they ought to promote a variety and a free flow of ideas. The next is, it promotes the social connections. Create opportunities for the people of all backgrounds to meet and develop the deep connections. This can be achieved through neighborhood events, the sports teams, or affinity-based organizations that promote the interpersonal communication and bonding. Next we talk about is education and awareness. Now hold educational programs and the workshops that address the cultural prejudice, biasness, and stereotypes. Raising the understanding of issues relating to diversity can aid in dispelling the myths and fostering the empathy and acceptance. Next is your address the socio-economic gaps. Now work to minimize the socio-economic gaps by giving all community the members equal access to education, job opportunities, and resources. Next we talk about is the support for mental health. Recognize and treat the particular issues that people from variety backgrounds may experience with their mental health, offer the information and services for the mental health that are sensitive to the cultural differences, and recognize how the culture affects the mental health. Now we need to remember that increasing the happiness and the well-being in the diverse communities is an ongoing process that requires all the members' dedication, empathy, and participation. The diverse communities can also thrive and have a positive impact on their members and society as a whole by creating an inclusive and supportive atmosphere. Now, celebrating the diversity and fostering the inclusivity for a happier society. Celebrating diversity and fostering the inclusivity are very essential steps towards creating a happier and more harmonious society. Embracing the richness of the different cultures, perspectives, and identities not only enhances the individual well-being, but it also strengthens the social cohesion and the collective happiness. Here's how celebrating diversity and fostering the inclusivity can contribute to a happier society. The first is, it promotes the understanding and empathy. Celebrating the diversity encourages the people to learn about the diverse cultures, traditions, and perspectives. This higher comprehension leads to empathy and a greater ability to relate to the experiences of the others, facilitating a peaceful interaction. It also reduces the prejudice and discrimination. Accepting the diversity aids in the dismantling of the preconceptions and the prejudice. By understanding and appreciating the benefits of diversity, society becomes more inclusive and less prone to discrimination. Next is it inspires the creativity and innovation. A diverse society brings together people with diverse abilities, skills, and the viewpoints. Accepting the variety creates an environment in which creativity and innovation they thrive, resulting in societal progress. Next we talk about is a personal well-being improved. When people feel appreciated and included, their self-esteem and overall well-being improves. People's happiness levels raise and they are encouraged to be themselves without a fear of judgment or exclusion. Next is your positive image. A culture that embraces the variety and nurtures the inclusivity projects. A positive image to the rest of the world. It becomes a beacon of tolerance and compassion, influencing and inspiring the people all over the world. So we can create a very happy society that loves each individual and benefits from the multitude of the viewpoints, abilities, and the contributions they bring by encouraging the celebration of diversity and cultivating the inclusivity. Accepting the variety is not only a moral obligation, but it is also a path to have a more prosperous and the harmonious future for all. So we can say that overall celebrating diversity and fostering the inclusivity is definitely a prerequisite for a happier society. So we can also say that we need to promote the happiness in multicultural society. And of course, when you talk about promoting the happiness in the multicultural context, it is very important part of building the inclusive and prosperous communities. The multicultural settings, which include the people from the various ethnic backgrounds, culture, religion, society, origin, and guaranteeing their happiness and well-being, it necessitates a very careful thinking and action. It is not a simple path. We need to actually clearly understand each and every aspect of the religion, the origin of the societies from which they are coming, the ethnic backgrounds, their level of happiness, and we need to actually make a very comprehensive action plan and walk in this direction. Only then we will be able to achieve a path of well-being and the happiness. We also need to be very culturally sensitive and competent. We need to actually promote the cultural sensitivity on the line of the community members and the leaders who are a part and parcel of this field. We need to uphold their norms. We cannot undermine their behavior and undermine their respect. So all these things have to be upholded for a very conscious understanding of their differences and then strategizing and making a policy which is like moving on to the path of happiness and the culture. And of course, we also need to be more inclusive in our approach. We have to actually congregate, mingle, and exchange the experiences, which is definitely going to give us a mileage, a free flow of ideas, and make society a very inclusive society along with the communal path. We need to be, of course, promoting the social connections also. Now, after creating a very good opportunities for the people for all the backgrounds to meet and develop their deep connections, if we are not giving an opportunity to the people of all race, caste, creed, religion, then it is going to create a huge gap. So we need to be very, very cautious about actually giving and promoting the opportunities for all kind of people. And of course, this can be achieved through the neighborhood events where, the neighborhood becomes a part and parcel of that event. They celebrate the functions together, and the affinity-based organizations can also promote the intercultural communication, and of course, all these things will lead to the bonding. And of course, the other important pretext is giving the education, knowledge, awareness in this regard. We need to be very culturally sensitive, and we need to uphold the important aspects of education in order to create an inclusive society which is free from biasness, raise the level of understanding in terms of celebrating the diversity. And of course, all these things, if we spread the knowledge, education and awareness in this regard, it is going to actually dispel all the kind of issues, all the kind of myths, the problems, and we are going to make the society more empathetic, which has a lot of acceptance in this regard. And if we see any kind of socio-economic gap, we need to fill that, we need to bridge that, we need to minimize that. So we need to actually have a very good support for the mental health. And of course, at the end, we would like to say that we need to create a more inclusive society, create a society that has only place for love, respect, and the benefits which are dispelled to the maximum number of people, appreciate their abilities, encourage them, celebrate diversity. So by accepting the variety is not only a moral obligation, but it is a very important path where we need to walk together. It is going to be very prosperous, harmonious, and leads to happiness and well-being. Thank you very much.